Hey, you're back. Welcome. And, ah, someone new. Good to see you. Today, let's talk circular sock machines and socks. There are many, many circular sock machines. It seems like everybody and their father made a sock machine within the last 100 years. And I want one of each of them. Fortunately, I don't have the money or the space to accommodate all of those money. So I'm content with oohing and eyeing at all the different machines that I see. So if you're out there posting pictures of your machines, thank you. Now, how many CSMs do I have? Three, yes, three of them. I have three circular machines. I have a 100-year-old Stieber that has a fabulous patina, but I broke the spring on one of the cams. Someone told me that I can MacGyver some kind of pen spring and fix it. Listen, I found out very fast. MacGyver is not my first, middle, or last name. And the Stieber is really heavy. That's iron. If that thing falls on your toe, you're going to be minus a toe. And it's really too heavy to mail to someone just so they can fix the spring. Okay? So I'll have to figure something out. I have my second machine, which I have is Speedy. It's an Erlbacher Speedster. It is red as red can be. I've stopped using it because I find it noisy for me. There are people who love the noise it makes. That's fine. I can't take it. Okay? And yes, I know about the dime or the nickel trick, and you stick it under there, and when it goes around, there's no noise. But I prefer not to be bothered with that because when it's time for me to knit backwards, when I'm making the heel or the toe, I have to remember to move the nickel or the dime, and sometimes I forget, and I'm like, why the hell isn't this working? And sometimes, being me, that nickel or that dime goes flying in whatever direction. I spent a year, every time I swept, I kept finding a dime or a nickel somewhere that had flown off the machine. My third machine is the Blue Devil. Yes, I have that name for her. I'm sure if she could speak, she would probably have a name for me too. I bought this machine when I already had another and had no idea what I was doing. So, that makes sense, right? Every time I sat at this machine, it was one problem after another. I would figure out one thing and then I'd have another problem. Then I'd figure that, and then finally one day I became frustrated and I yelled at the machine. Yes, an inanimate object, and I'm yelling, "You devil!" And since she is blue, she became the Blue Devil. Today, the machine usually knits beautifully. I'm sure if I had known what I know now, it would have been great from the start and she would have a different name. Usually, when there's an issue, it's me. Sometimes it's her, though. There are days when she's a devil. Okay? Now, um, I think before we talk about socks, Ah, what is it? Oh, yes, the Blue Devil. Let me tell you about her. Sometimes when I sit down, she knits beautifully, but sometimes the spring flies off, needles break, latches get stuck. Um, you name it, it can happen to me. When someone else sits down with her, not a problem. They'll finish knitting and I'll go back and I'll sit down and something will happen. Okay? But that's me and the Blue Devil. We seem to be, some days it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Other days, but you know what? I've been thinking maybe I need to change her name. Maybe I should call her Princess Blue and see if there's a change. Maybe a new name, okay? And though I'm talking about the CSM, And socks, let me show you what I've been working on before we get to socks. I tried to make a flower on the CSM. It's maybe a little hard to see. Let me see if I can bring it closer because it's a dark, you know, that generic yarn they sell at any big box store, but I like it. I really do. And because I like it, I had a brilliant idea. Let me make a big version. Well, that wasn't too successful. When my sister saw it, she asked me if I was making a bag. Okay, so right now it just looks like with whichever side I show you, it just looks like a giant poof. Okay, I'll have to play around with it and see what I can do. Now I have a book for making flowers on a flatbed knitting machine, and you could adapt it for hand or for circular. It's a nice book, and I say that even though I haven't read it. I looked at the pictures. Okay, and I think you can use many yarns, whether you're hand knitting or machine knitting, to make some flowers. But you know, I can't follow directions to save my soul. So the book on how to make flowers on your machine is sitting on a shelf. It looks brand new, and even though I've had it for a few years, it still looks new. It also, there's a sister book. The author did 2 books of this, and I bought them, but I have no clue where I put the second book, and I haven't done anything from the first book. So you know what? It's back on the shelf while I continue to bother myself trying to figure out how to do it. For some reason, that makes sense to me. And now to socks. I make socks. And boy, oh boy, do I make socks. But first, where do I get my sock yarn? The answer, everywhere. Okay? I travel, and whenever I do, I look for the local yarn shop, and I buy 3 yarns. I buy 1 skein with stellina because I love everything that shines. I buy 1 skein with color and more color. And then I buy a 3rd plain one if they have it, so I could take it home and dye it myself, and I can see how the yarn they are using takes color, and you know how I can work with it. And of course there are Michaels and Joann's. I cannot tell you when Michaels or Joann's have their sock sale. Okay, all I can tell you is that on occasion I have gone there and found sock yarn on sale, and yes, it's me. I bought every single one. I have walked out of Michael's and Joann's with 2 huge bags of yarn, 1 in each hand, and with my mother behind me shaking her head, going, "You don't think you have enough?" I have 8 54-gallon bins of sock yarn. And guess what? My family loves socks, but they don't want socks in sock yarn. They want socks in non-sock yarn. 8 bins. What do I do? Well, after a few of them verbalize their dislike of sock yarn, and they want soft, I have tried to accommodate. But for those who use traditional sock, if you go to Michael's or Joann's or even online, you can get these sock yarns. As you can see, this is patterns. Everyone, okay, these are the basic sock yarns. You know, you can get them at Michael's, the Mani Pedi. I'm not sure if these are still around. There is all, I think it's pronounced Berico, but don't quote me. Okay, and this one is the Berico. This is acrylic. Okay, and this one also is acrylic because some people are allergic to sock yarn, to wool sock yarn. And there's also, you know, Cascade yarns. I like these. When you wash this, it is really awesome. And There is also, the German sock yarns, okay? But my family wants soft, soft sock yarn. So if you know of a sock yarn that is just soft, 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 let me know. Maybe there's a cashmere sock yarn out there or something. They even think alpaca is too hard for sock yarn. Um, and they don't want sock yarn, but they're not gentle on socks. I have one princess who religiously puts massive holes in her socks, right below the toes. Because of her, I bought this. Okay, this is for darning socks. I have grown tired of throwing out the holy socks she brings me, and she comes, you know, like they're a prize, and I should be pleased to accept them. So I bought this on Etsy. That's a story in and of itself. But the next time she brings me socks with holes, I'm gonna whip this out, find a YouTube video, and see what I can do, and then I'm going to return them to the princess. I can't wait to see the look on her face. That reminds me, can someone please recommend a visible mending book? I went on Amazon to search it up. This is a phrase from Princess Number 2, and found a few books, but I have no clue which one I should buy. So please recommend a book that you have actually used and know it to be clear and concise. If I need a PhD to use it, please don't recommend it. And it should have nice big pictures, as I am not likely to read anything written in it. Okay? Now, where was I? Socks. You know what? Let me put this away because I don't want to not be able to find it when she shows up with socks with holes in it. Just give me a minute here. Now, what kind of socks have I made? All kinds. I have some pictures of some of my socks on Instagram. If you want, just look for the fat lady. I think it's the Fat Lady Knits there. I hope you don't have to subscribe just to see my socks. Okay, but I have some here in front of me. Let's start with the socks that I made on the flatbed machine. Oops, excuse me, oops. Now everything is falling to the ground. Okay. Now, I love this sock. Look at it. I like the colors. I love the heel. It looks handmade. The toe is just scrumptious looking. And I made a few others. And as you can see, they're nice socks. But, and this is a big but for me, you have to seam the ribbing, because on the flatbed machines you don't get a circular rib. Okay, as I said, I love the socks. There's no kitchening of the toe, but you see this seam, however you close it, you're doing it wrong. Why do I say that? If you close it on the outside, well, actually, the first thing you're going to think is, let's close it so it's on the inside, the seam is on the inside. And guess what? The person you give the sock to is going to put it on and roll it and fold it over to form a cuff. And what are you going to see? A seam. So you say, okay, so let's put the seam on the outside, so when they cuff it down, no one will see it. The person you give it to will not cuff it down, and what are you going to see? A seam. So you can't win. So what's a person to do? Buy a circular sock machine. Okay? And I did just that 3 times. Now, let me see. What have I? Let me show you some of the socks I've done. Everybody on the planet who makes socks recognizes this yarn. It's by Patterns, okay? Someone really needs to tell them to update their color palette, okay? What else? Here's another sock I've made. As you can see, this is for someone with really small feet. It's by a German sock maker. The name escaped me right now. I can't remember the name. Someone help me out here. But they're really popular. Okay? And I have some silk yarn to make socks, but it's buried in one of those gallon bins somewhere. And it's silk. I have to think really carefully about who I'm going to make socks with that from. And let me not forget Serenity sock yarn. This right now is only a tube that I cranked, but I swear these Serenity must be made by Patterns because their color palette, never changes. I think they must have a bottomless well filled with these same boring dyes that they keep using over and over and over. Okay? I have some more socks here, but we'll talk more about these a little bit later. Okay? As you know, my socks are made on, not the Blue Devil, on Princess Blue. She has a new name, who was behaving like a devil one day. And guess what? I was so disappointed. I made this pair of socks on her, and I don't know. It's inexplicable because I would swear I checked this ribbing before I started the body of the sock. Look what happened. Let me see if I can get close. Look at that. Somehow, while I was ribbing, I managed to skip not one, not two, not three, 4 stitches, and I've got this. And I have to fix this before I give them to the new owners, because I don't think I can hide this or explain it away. I have so many socks in front of me. Let's see if I can get a little organized. Let me show you some socks that I am working on or have finished. These are finished for my mom. Okay, these are finished in her favorite color. She loves yellow and green. And then there's a green one. The second one for this, it's a work in progress. I have the needles and the ribbon. I'm working on it. And yes, it's velvet. I heard both of you. I heard the person who went, velvet socks? Wow, cool. And then I heard the other person who said, velvet socks? Those are going to fall apart in the first wash. Now, who is right? Maybe both of you. We will see, as I designed them for my mom so that she could wear them in bed. So they're basically bed socks. That way her feet won't be cold at night. But even if they fall apart in the first wash, the second wash, no worries. We're talking mom here. She has plenty of socks that I have made. Okay? What else do I have? I have this one. I bought this yarn at Michael's, but I must say, I went there one day and there was a sale and I bought all of it, and I've never seen it there again. So if you were looking for it, sorry. Where? Okay. Let me tell you about this sock. This sock is made from the first yarn I dyed at, I took a workshop at Rhinebeck. Okay, so we're gonna do my successes here. I took look at the teacher said pick 3 colors and I did it. So this is one of my successes. Okay, and I wore this sock and I made it on the circular sock machine. At the time I only had Speedy, but I've worn them so much. Okay, and yeah, this one looks like an amputee. I wore out the edging, so I don't know what I'm going to do, because the chances of my dyeing yarn that exactly match this are like few and far between. I don't know what I'm going to do because I love these socks. Okay, my second favorite sock is this one. Okay, I love, I love this sock. Okay, this sock I made using three different colorways that I dyed. I love the fact that the purple breaks. So I've got splotches of other colors in there. But because I was a novice dyer, I did not dye enough yarn. So I cannot make a second pair of socks. So I just look at this and I blow kisses at it. And as you can see, it's not finished at the top because when will I wear it? Maybe one day by accident. You know, one of those days you accidentally recreate. But what are the chances of this? I do know that I have more of this color, okay, because I saw it today. But this one, and especially this one, the way it pulls, oh my God. If you could be in love with a sock, I'm in love with a sock. I've also done this one. Now this one, there is no rhyme or reason for this sock. It's just three different colorways that have nothing to do with each other. And this up here I love is it pulls, it's a cuff. So you can just roll it down. It's really, really good. I think I've shown you, oh, and here's some shorties that I've done. These are my successes, okay? Let's now talk about some of my failures. First, we'll start on my attempt at a Franken sock. There are no words for this, so I will leave it alone. Okay? And I have a sock around here that is my most spectacular failure. Ah, there it is. Who in their right mind would make this sock? I found, it looks like kitchen towel, it looks like bath towel material. That's what it looks like. And I added Lycra to it to give it some stretch. But the stitches, the material is so you can't tell one stitch from the other. So I haven't figured out how to Kitchener it because I can't tell the stitches apart. Okay? And somewhere in here, I probably can't find it now that I'm on camera, there's a random hole in one of them. No rhyme, no reason. Oh well. That's just to show you, those of us who make, we're always showing you our successes, but there's some failures too. But you know what? It's getting later in the afternoon. It's time to go. I will catch you next time. And yeah, I'll catch you next time. Bye.